What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Postgame. What a game for the Oilers. Trev, you got me, buddy?
Yeah. I got you. You're good.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect. I don't know. I thought I heard what was going on, everybody. Yeah, that was wow. Edmonton Oilers get the job done tonight. What's going on, everybody? Tommy Gazzola covered in deer piss somewhere after Bozone Live, so he's not able to join us tonight. So I have the show tonight, and boy, what an effort from the Oilers tonight. We'll break down the scoring summary. Of course, you can text us anytime 780-218-9999. That's right there. Matt Kassian is going to join us a little bit later on as well. And Tommy is going to miss the next two. Maddie's going to do pregame for the next two games against Vegas and then the road game against Winnipeg. And I will have the post game because I can do it from my house and go quickly to bed and then back in tomorrow morning as well. So, yeah, should be pretty good here. Are the Oilers back? That's the question. I see some people asking it right there. It's going to be interesting to see what happens actually against Vegas. That's a big one. We'll take a look at the schedule. I was a little rattled by John Shannon, who's an absolute legend in the industry, saying that like the Oilers could. I mean, I think it's a tough stretch coming up here, but if they roll through it above 500, I mean, it kind of gives them an opportunity to sort of get ramping back up to speed. Talk Texan Cass is going to be joining us. He'll be coming by momentarily. Yeah, my home studio did have some moths in the lines to start. Actually, I was picking up some delayed feedback, so I'm going to get that sorted out on my end here, and then we will have Matt Cassian join us as well as we work our way through the post game. Let me whip you through the scoring summary here. Your thoughts on all of it? I mean, there's not a reason to not like a lot of what we saw tonight. Um, the start was weird. It was a weird start to this hockey game because I felt like the Oilers didn't even get going until they were up 3-2. Once they're up 3-2, I was like, okay, they kind of sense that it could be one of these nights. So they really got after it. The Ducks had a pretty decent start to this game. Stuart Skinner on the second goal certainly did not help. But we'll get into that as we work our way through this bad boy. And then Cass will pop in and join us as well. It was Jones who opened the scoring, 3:32 in, his second of the season. Vander Kane on that one, didn't love it on the back check, kind of just got puck watching and let Jones get to the net. But then Kane instantly redeemed himself. A minute and 4 seconds later, he gets the game tied up with his 10th of the season. And then Jones again, and I have no idea. That might have been the worst goal that Skinner has allowed all season. And after that, he kind of made that glove save late in the first and sort of zoned in after that. Wasn't tested a lot after that either. But yeah, McDavid, after Jones would sneak one under the pad of Skinner. I know a lot of people were replying to my tweet about and just being like, put your stick between your legs, which would have helped in that situation. And then Connor McDavid basically took over in this hockey game. His seventh of the year, tied the game at 2. Darnell Nurse with an all-time pass dart right up the middle to Ryan Nugent Hopkins for his 5th of the year. Where did he go? Of course, he went low blocker side. Edmonton went up 3-2, and then they never really looked back from there. Hyman made it 4-2 in the second period. When first shot blocked, comes right back to him. Those calls caught out because he was reacting to the first shot. Hamlin puts it home. His first at home, his second of the season, 5-2. At that point, Zach Hyman would make it 6-2, and then you get to the third period, and Leon Draisaitl's 9th of the year vintage Oilers power play as Connor McDavid just straight up buzzsaw tonight. McDavid draws everybody over, slides it across the Draisaitl, classic one-timer, go up 7-2, and then Matthias Ekholm with his third of the season, 8-2. That one coming on the power play as well. Oilers power play goes 2 for 6 tonight. And their penalty kill goes 3 for 3 against Anaheim. It was a 5-point evening for Connor McDavid. He has 9 points in his last 2 games. Zach Hyman with a 3-point effort. And Evander Kane had 10 hits in this game tonight, 4 shots on goal. Played 1847. Felt like he was out there a lot more, but he ended up finishing with 2 points. And Stuart Skinner, a 913 save percentage, which you can't really complain about either. Let's bring in our game analyst. Matt Cassian joins us. Cass, one of those nights, man, coming off of it. I tweeted earlier today, -1.5 is the play here, building off what happened against Washington and getting an Anaheim team that had lost 5 in a row. This is really setting up nicely. It was a weird start to this game, though, wasn't it?
It was a weird start and a weird feel to it for a little bit too. And all of a sudden there was like a whole bunch of goals that were just kind of scored. And it made me a little bit nervous. I won't lie. Got a little bit nervous after that second Anaheim goal went in. I was like, uh-oh, like this could be one of those nights. It kind of gave the Oilers an opportunity to be resilient. You know, like it was almost like that second one goes in, and in games past this year so far, when that's happened, they've completely fallen apart. Like the wheels at that point have fallen off. They completely blow up, and they just quit playing. Like they completely fall apart. Tonight that didn't happen. They managed to stick with it. I think a big part of that was Connor McDavid. He looks like Connor McDavid. Doesn't look like he's slowing down. Doesn't look like he's not moving like normal. Like he took that one over again. But yeah, it was a little interesting start to it. That falling down goal was a really weird one, and I think clearly not a good goal for Stuart Skinner. At the same time, I think he fans on it a little bit, and it goes somewhere Skinner doesn't think it's going to go. But it's just kind of an odd one on that second goal. I didn't like that they gave up another rush goal against.
The first one,
like the first one in the seam pass. But largely after that, they locked it down pretty well. Like they didn't really give them, and I know you mentioned Skinner's one glove save, but beyond that, it's not like he was overly tested the rest of the night. Like the team
he wasn't.
Locked it down. Again, they had an opportunity to completely flip out after that goal number 2 goes in to completely fall apart, and they hold on to it. So that was good to see. I think that's the story of the game is they stayed resilient in a weird little start to the game, and then Connor McDavid was back to doing Connor McDavid things.
And we're gonna get to the McDavid. I mean, he was brilliant again tonight. It's interesting on the that one goal, because outside of that, Skinner, I mean, he really wasn't tested much after it. But on that goal, I thought maybe in the replay, he thought like the shot was coming initially when Jones sort of went, and then he went down. But then when I watched the replay, I was like, I don't even know if that's what it was, because it didn't look like he kind of fanned on it. It was just I don't know what was going on there. That was a really weird play for Skinner. But I mean,
it was a weird play for him. Yeah. And if they lose, if the game turns at that, we're probably looking at that one and going like, that was the moment. And again,
but they scored goals, right?
They scored goals, and they found a way to do it. And you know what I liked about the way they scored goals tonight, Dusty? I know they got some power play goals, but it primarily wasn't on the power play. Like they were 5-on-5, and it felt tonight, and it didn't even feel like this in Washington, but it felt tonight because Washington, they got some, which I love, like the gritty goals in front of the net. They haven't got enough of those, but it finally felt like their rush game was clicking a little bit more. Like they looked a little bit more dangerous offensively, 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Dare I say it, they looked more like the team we've seen last year, in years past, in being threatening offensively, where they have some bite to it, or it looked like they had bite to it, versus the start of the season where they were just like a bunch of little puppies that didn't scare anybody.
Yeah, no, it was I mean, the last 2 games, those 3 games where they beat the Kraken and the Islanders, like those weren't good teams, and I didn't think they played extremely well in those games. These last 2 games, I think they played probably their best hockey of the season. Yep. Huge test against Vegas coming up. We'll take a look at the schedule ahead here in just a second. I just tweeted out that we were going to talk about it, so let's get to it. Did Connor McDavid all of a sudden just get healthy, Cass? Or what?
It's
or what's
possible.
happened here? Because he's like, he looks like we're not going to say again, okay, he's injured, because if he slows down again, we're going to say, well, what the heck were those 2 games about, when he was just, he was at last year's level again. And last year's level is always so much beyond everybody else on the ice. We hadn't said that much this year. It looks like all of a sudden he just got healthy. I don't know. It's really weird,
well,
isn't
but
it?
it's been, I don't think it was all of a sudden. Like and me and Tommy, maybe if you watch more of the post game shows, you know this,
It's
Dusty.
late. It's late.
You have to go to bed. Me and Tommy have been talking about, as time has moved on, like the last 2 to 3 weeks, where it's been like he's slowly gone from showing like where it was like he'd just do 1 or 2 little things a game, but it was never consistent. Like, and it was never throughout a game. But more and more the last couple weeks, it's like it's gone from just being 1 or 2 small moments to being 3, to being 4, to
Yeah.
being 5. Like, where there has been, I want to say, a slow swing back for Connor McDavid, and which makes sense, especially if it's like an abdominal injury that affects your explosiveness and your ability to really push and to shift gears and to change directions. I think we've seen, so I don't think, to me, it wasn't just a sudden thing. It's been like a build up to where, you know, he's feeling better. He's feeling even better. He's feeling even better. And maybe now he's back at 100%. And before we go further, Brett Kellington throws out, met me at the Italian Center in Sherwood Park, which we did. It was great. He came up and said hi. We chatted for a minute and bonded over some fennel salami. So it was a good little moment at the Italian Center in Sherwood Park.
Special. It's special when you have that connection over salami, isn't it?
Over
It really
salami.
is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Over
He's a really
cold
nice
cuts.
guy, isn't he?
He was a really nice guy. Yep, really, really nice guy. So just came over and said hi and introduced himself. It was good. It was good. We had a good little chat. So it was nice.
Here's a text right now, 780-218-9999. Hey boys, listening from Belize. Hell of a game. McDaddy is back. Thank you very much, Ryan. So that's kind of cool to see where they're listening from right now. We said it after when we were having that watch party with that Washington game when it was wrapping up. Probably the first full 60-minute effort of the season there against the Washington Capitals. I didn't think I would say relatively close to a full 60 tonight too.
Let's give him a 55 minutes.
Yeah. Anaheim might have been better team for about 4 or 5 minutes in this game, but I thought it was pretty darn close to another full 60-minute effort.
Yeah. Pretty good. I mean, Anaheim, I thought, was better team right out of the gate, like first couple minutes. But sometimes that's going to happen. And sometimes that, like, Anaheim's a team that had lost at that point 5 games in a row. So that they're going to throw everything they have at you out of the gate. Like they're going to push out of the gate because they're trying to bust out of whatever slump they're in. And so it's not abnormal to me. And sometimes in dressing rooms before those games where you're playing a team like that, you talk about it. You say, hey, listen, we're going to have to weather. If we come out of the first 5 minutes, the first 10 minutes, and we're even or better, that's where we want to be against this group tonight, because they've been struggling, and the longer that we can hang around, the better chance that we have. And so it's not like shocking that Anaheim came out and really pressed early on. Now they did manage to score a couple goals, and again, earlier in the year, Edmonton would have completely collapsed, fell apart. That would have been it. They would have self-destructed and hit the panic button and fallen apart. They didn't tonight, which is another positive sign. So here's a question for you, Dusty.
Yeah.
Are you back on the bandwagon?
No, not yet. I mean, Anaheim sucks. So I'll just be honest with them. Like the Ducks, they've lost 6 in a row now. These are the Ducks that you kind of expected to see this year. So Anaheim sucks. I thought they played outstanding against Washington, though, man. I think that was the first sign when you're like, okay, like maybe this team is in there still. The Peter Pan reference, the Hook reference, we made a couple of days ago, right? It's like, are you in there still? Like you're starting to see that with Connor. It is you. So
it is you.
Yeah, like that helps. But it'll be interesting to see if they can use this momentum of 13 goals in the last 2 games to go up. Jack mentioned it a couple times in the broadcast tonight. Vegas has been shut out in 3 of their last 6 games. So this is a huge game coming up on Tuesday against Vegas. Like this will be a chance for the others to probably, and they don't need to prove it. Like they don't care what we think. They don't care what the fans think. This is a chance for them to prove to themselves, right, Cass, that like, hey, let's go out. Let's beat Vegas. That's 3 in a row. Get a really good Winnipeg team coming up after that. Like, and then they're going to get a little bit of time off. Was it 5 days after these next 2 games and then a huge homestand? So it'll be really interesting because a loss to Vegas would very much be a buzzkill on these 2 nice games that they've put together. So
and
I don't know how much more momentum could you ask for going into this game against Vegas, right?
Well, you got all kinds, which is great,
Yeah.
and you got to be feeling it, and hopefully you're up for a little bit of revenge here. We've talked both on the pre and post game show and on Two Guys and a Goalie. By the way, smash that subscribe button if you haven't
Yeah,
yet.
we're
If you
almost to
want that content,
6,000 here.
we're right there. So be number
50 away.
6,000. Yeah, we'll get there. Um, we've talked about, did the Vegas Golden Knights break the Edmonton Oilers, akin to Edmonton breaking Calgary, or how we view it that way or talk about it anyways. And so it's almost like a little bit of time at redemption. But on the flip side, it's like, well, if Vegas comes out here and goes stompy on the Edmonton Oilers, like, you want to talk about buzzkill, Dusty. I mean, that could be a massive buzzkill. Especially heading into a time where it's like you're going to have one more, and then you're going to have time to sit and marinate on it a little bit. By the way, that if they do win against Vegas, and let's say they string together two more wins here, and they start
4 in a row,
4 in a row, and then you get hit with a 5-day break. I don't like that. Is someone watching this to be like, oh, I want to carry that momentum forward? But yeah, it'll be a massive game against the Vegas team that is going to go through, or is going through, a little bit of their own struggles offensively right now. They're still they're a dang good team.
Second half of them back-to-back for Vegas too, because they're in Calgary tomorrow, right? So
yeah, so huge opportunity, because you are catching them in that. Yeah, I mean, you gotta hope that the fire is in there from this is a division game now. Not that we're gonna catch the Vegas Golden Knights, but it is another 4 points on the table, really, and a chance to keep that momentum going and continue to claw back just from all the shenanigans, struggles, mistakes and troubles that they have dealt themselves this year. So yeah, it'll be a fun one. I'll be there in person for this one. I think it's going to be a pretty fun
for Tuesday.
one to watch.
Cass comes out for the big ones. Cass comes out for the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Tommy Gazzola, who is in the chat. Says no Bucks down tonight. Sadly, warm weather is a problem. So we're getting the latest hunting issues from Tommy Gazzola in the nasty chat tonight. So that's,
I don't know. I mean, I just kind of feel like you should just be able to go catch them. Like, I don't know what the big deal is, Tom.
Can't you
just run faster?
Fish, basically, like let's just
run faster, Tom. Like,
we know nothing about. You're not a hunter in any way, are you, Cass?
No, you know what? Some of my, actually, I would say almost all of my best friends are all really big into it. My brother wants to get into it, so I might at some point. Like I live with 4 women, so the idea of going to sit quietly in the woods for like a couple days is actually fairly appealing. But I don't even need to go shoot anything. Like I'll just go sit and take a case of 6 o'clock or lager, and by the way, which is delicious. Because I had snagged one from the studio.
You did have one, yeah.
And I had one last night.
It's good,
and
right?
it was actually stupendous.
It's a smooth beer.
With some lagers, like you never really know, but that I will say, for a lager, that had the exact finish that I want a lager to have. Like for a craft lager, like when you finish that, it just goes down that smooth, and that the taste by finish, I mean the taste that's left in your mouth was delicious, fantastic. So I'd take some of those, take my phone with a whole bunch of Edmonton Sports Talk podcasts, among other podcasts on it, just to make sure that I'm listening to what I need to, and a couple books, and I just sit in a tree line.
There you go. Yeah, just give yourself 12 hours on a tree line.
Yeah,
can't go wrong.
Just hang out, and maybe I'll see a couple deer, but I don't need to shoot them.
You don't need to shoot. Hey, what's up?
Yeah,
you're lucky.
What's up?
Free pass.
It's a good looking deer.
By the way, 6 o'clock or lager will be available later this week. Although I saw Savage got his hands on some, and he was tweeting it out tonight. So I don't know. Maybe some Sobeys have already kind of put them out. Not supposed to be out until a little bit later in the week. And if anybody wants to pop down, Alley Cat, we're having a tasting party at 4 from 4 to 7 on Wednesday. If anybody wants,
and they're delicious, seriously. And I mean that.
Yeah, no, it's a good beer. Yeah,
because it's Edmonton Sports Talk. It's like, no, it's.
I was very worried. I was very worried when we cracked them on Friday.
Lager.
I was like, please don't suck. Please don't suck. And it was really good.
It's really, really good. Really, really good. So you're going to have to, to race me there because I like me a good lager.
Library Pat to the inbox right now, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999 says, as impressive as the plethora of goals has been, I'm more impressed that they managed to allow less than 3 in each of the last 2 games. They only done that 3 times before this season. So that's in from Library Pat. I I mean, Cass, when you're pushing the puck the other end of the ice and scoring a bunch of goals, less opportunity
Yep.
to let it in your own net. But what have you thought of them tightening things up a bit, or at least limiting some of maybe these odd man rushes that you didn't like the first goal
Yep.
tonight? But
I hated
there
those.
wasn't as many of those, right?
No,
So
there hasn't been as many of them. And what I've liked, Dusty, what I've liked, and me and Maddie Awanek talked about this on the pregame show. One of my favorite things about that Washington game is when they were playing with the lead, they kept the game simple. Like they didn't keep trying to force things. And again tonight, from a turnover standpoint, especially around the blue lines, they weren't forcing plays. Like there weren't very many times, and I saw them a couple times. In the second period in particular, when they had the puck in the offensive zone and they had a chance, like they could have been looking for something. They could have tried to thread the needle to score a goal in the offensive zone when they had full possession. And I saw a couple guys they saw that pass may have been there, but it's like a 50-50, 25-75 pass where it's still probably not going to go through. And if it doesn't, the puck's coming back the other way. And you know what they did, Dusty? What do you think they did? They held on to it.
sorry, buddy. I
They
was just
didn't
about
throw
the cough. You
Yeah,
caught me
that's all
off
right.
guard.
They didn't throw it away. I just figured
Yeah.
you didn't know, so I should answer anyways.
No,
So
no.
they didn't throw it away. And so I really like that. And in the last two games, it was that again tonight, where it's like they had the lead, they know they had enough goals to win. They didn't force it. They didn't force
Yeah.
plays. They didn't just throw it away hoping that something would happen. And part of that, there's a couple components to that. One is they're not chasing games, so they're not behind. The second part of it is just when they had the lead, they didn't still try to think, well, we need, we have 2 goals, we need 8 to win. Now they get 8 tonight because they weren't forcing it. Yeah. And actually, can I say this comparison? And then you tell
Go
me
ahead.
what you think.
Yeah, sure.
Because I had this thought watching it. I was like, Anaheim right now, especially in the first period, they look like Edmonton did for most of the first 20 games. Where they gave up a lot of rush chances against. There was odd man rushes, letting guys get in behind them, like quick transition plays
Yeah, like
that absolutely
really good
crushed them.
scoring chances, like not
Really
lots,
good
but
scoring
really good
chances
ones.
against. So it's like, and tonight, like, so actually, here's another question: would you blame this loss if you're the Anaheim Ducks on goaltending?
No, not tonight. I tweeted when they
No,
pulled him. I said, man, I mean,
it's a
it's not
mercy
his
pull.
fault in any way. Like,
But
yeah,
that's that it just made me think of how Edmonton is largely played, where it's just like, well, yeah, you're giving up these breakaways and odd man rushes against. More of them are going to go in, and yeah, you need saves. Of course, you need saves, but yeah, it kind of felt like Anaheim was in the they're playing like Edmonton has been primarily, like just lots of turnovers, lots of rush chances against, lots of odd man rushes, and it ends up in the back of your net.
if you have any questions, you can hit us up with a nasty chat or text us 780-218-9999. Weird G says, Dusty looks like he needs the Heimlich. I am going to grab some water quickly, Cass. So I'm going to set you up for this. I'll be back in 2 seconds. I fill up a water bottle. It's just around the corner. The line of McDavid, Hyman, and Nuge together for the last couple of games. It's looked outstanding. How much of maybe McDavid getting going here? And I know he's the one who pushes it all.
Yep.
But how much of getting him going might be those other 2 guys?
Well, I think getting the other 2 guys going is part of it. The other 2 guys are going to help. I think the biggest part of it is, to me, McDavid actually again doing McDavid things. Seeing him with the jump, seeing him with that explosiveness that he has had in the past, which is great to see. Now that being said, I've always liked the Hyman fit with McDavid because it's someone that can dig pucks out. It's someone that likes being around the net, that's good around the net, scores goals from around the net. So I like just in premise of the line, I really like Zach Hyman being there just because of stylistically, I think he plays well with a McDavid style of player. Because he can skate well enough to be with him. And as I said, everyone's worried about McDavid, and Hyman can find him some ice around the net to get open or to find rebounds when the puck gets there. And then Nuge is just a guy that pretty cerebral player that can think the game decently well typically, and can contribute as well offensively. Again, a guy that can still skate with the line and not be a zone and a half behind the entire time. So, how much of it is on Hyman and Nuge? 33%. and then the rest
Little
on
bit.
McDavid.
Little bit.
Right? Like to me, most of it still is just McDavid doing McDavid things, like actually getting back to that and looking
At a
like
better
he's
level
healthy
than he had been so
at a
far.
better
Yeah.
level than he has been. So he's going to drive wherever he is. With that being said, I mean, we do have to give those other guys credit, is that they're playing well with him. And they're finding ways to contribute, and for Hyman, it was a great little read for Hyman on the one to step behind. Beautiful pass by McDavid. I mean, you talk about quick transition,
Yeah.
but a great read by Hyman to say there's an opportunity here to step to the middle of the ice and to be available. So they're all chipping in, which is great to see. You know, McDavid still the biggest driver by far.
This text is in. First time they've ever texted in, so that's nice. Great game. Goaltending is still a concern, but in Skinner we trust. And that's from a 403, so who knows? Maybe that's down the Lethbridge neck of the woods. I mean, in Skinner, you have to trust. I mean, that's just how it is between the pipes right now. And I don't know. Does one save settle the guy in, Cass? I mean, he made that glove save late in the first.
Yeah,
I just didn't think he was really tested too much after that anyway.
No,
you know?
no, he wasn't. And the Oilers, you know, they end up scoring and taking the lead and having control. But sometimes one big save can settle a guy in, just like a shutout can settle a goaltender into, you know, pull them out of a funk. Just like scoring one goal can pull a player that hasn't been scoring out of a funk. For example, like I love that Draisaitl scored that goal on the power play, like a one-timer that he got away clean. And I know it's a goal that doesn't matter at that point in terms of the overall outcome of the game, but just to get on that one, you know, not to have it fan on it, to have him execute on that play, it's the same thing. So can one save turn a game around for a goalie? Absolutely, mentally it can. Absolutely it can. Yeah, I mean, you let one in that wasn't a good one. It was a weird goal all around. And again, in the games past the season, both goaltending and the players in front of them have kind of collapsed after that, where, you know what, Stuart Skinner makes a glove save, not overly tested after that, but just solid the rest of the way. So ends up, you know, with a positive save percentage. It's a good save, healthy save percentage. And ends up, you know, with kind of 2 games. I mean, having a solid 2 games. So I mean, you're running with him, and
Yeah,
he
I'm
knows
pretty
it.
happy.
Yeah,
Shut
and you
out
got to be
last
happy
game,
with it.
9-13. This game gonna obviously get the start against Vegas on Tuesday and go from there. Okay, how about that? How about the pass from Nurse to Nuge?
Great pass
And
again.
you know, it's not like I have a ranking in my head or a notebook with all the best passes in Darnell Nurse's career. But that's got to be right up there with one of the best passes he's ever made, man. That was
Threads
an
the needle on
absolute
that one.
dart right up the middle of the ice.
Yep, absolute. And he had either his heat to it too. Like he had to, it wasn't like you could just feather it. It wasn't like a soft, like I'm going to flip it. It was like, no, he snapped that puck. And so we got to also give Nuge credit to pick it up, because that is coming quick and through, like you're not seeing it the whole way. Like I guarantee you somewhere, because you're looking, you don't have visual the whole time on it, so you're kind of tracking where it's going and figuring out to make sure you can catch it. But that was a beautiful pass. So let's give him credit absolutely on that one. That was gorgeous pass. Good finish by Nuge too on the play. So yeah, that was a nice one. I mean, those are tough. Now, there's an element of risk when you make those passes. Because
how many people are going to say right up the middle all the time, you know?
Yeah, right up the middle, where like if that doesn't work, it doesn't work hard typically. But he recognizes a play, sees a lane, and let's say he makes the pass with authority because of the heat he put on it. Which you want to also do, because it's like, well, even if it doesn't get to him, at least if it you know, someone else probably isn't going to be able to catch it. Like if they tip it, and momentum is still carrying it towards the other end, so it's not coming right back at you. But yeah, it was gorgeous pass.
I would say, how does an NHL goaltender still get beaten by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins blocker side on a breakaway? Like, do you not have a book on this guy that he's always going to shoot in that exact same spot every time?
He likes it. Yeah, but that's just like, what is it? Was it Matty Hendricks and the Paralyzer? Like where it's you know what he's doing, but he still scores. And it was Mikko Koivu was the same thing on his breakaways, where he'd always go, like, you knew he was going backhand. He was always going backhand. Top cheese backhand. But if players have, even if it's one move and it's one move you execute well, you still have to respect it, because it's like, well, if they don't do that and they do something else, well, then you're gonna, like, you know, like an absolute turd, because you're sliding one way and they just, you make it look like they're doing that. So it's like you still have to play the odds a little bit, Dusty, on those. And you know, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, that's where he likes to go, and he sells it well. And hey, puck's in the back of the net.
Okay, so they were talking. So the Oilers, they've got a long way to go to get back in the mix here. In the second intermission, shout out to Stoff who managed to fit in a Rob Dom reference, which I know he's probably been waiting a long time to do since they hired Knobloch. So I'm sure he was happy with that. But the other thing they talked about was how the Edmonton Oilers, the schedule sets up nicely for them to kind of get back into it. I didn't necessarily agree with that. It's nice because they're home on the road for 1, then home for 6. I mean, that is great, but the schedule itself is not an easy schedule. They've kind of played one of the easier parts of their schedule. I kind of looked ahead at like the rest of the schedule this season, and I would think that this next 8-game stretch, which would be, if you can come through it hot, then that really sort of launches you. Because I think it's one of the most difficult 8 or 9 game stretches they might have the rest of the way this season. After tonight, they are now 7-12-1 for 15 points. The race in the wild card spot is not too crazy. They're 6 points back of Seattle, and they got 2 games in hand on Seattle. The problem is that there was the Ducks. They're going to pass the Ducks. The Flames are 4 points ahead of them. The Coyotes are 5 points ahead of them. The Preds are 5 points ahead of them. They're not tracking down a bunch of who's who around the National Hockey League. St. Louis and Seattle currently hold down those last 2 playoff spots. Cass, the schedule is this over the next little while, and then they go on a 3-game road trip before Christmas, then have 3 games on the road throughout the holidays. Vegas at home, Winnipeg on the road. Winnipeg's had a great start to the year. And then home for Carolina, Minnesota, New Jersey, Chicago, Tampa, and Florida. How do you describe that sked?
It's a pretty tough schedule, and you're playing every second day. Like, you have the 5 days off, sure, but then you're playing every second day. Like, that's a pretty healthy schedule, and it's not, or a hefty schedule, and it's not. Minnesota, I don't think they haven't performed up to where they'd like thus far on the season. Chicago, young and hungry. I mean, but really, aside from that, it's like you're playing some really good teams.
Carolina, some really good teams.
Carolina is a really, really good team that, play style wise, you're going to like, Edmonton has traditionally their last couple of years struggled against because they just play so tight. New Jersey, which would be a fun one, I think, like that could be a fun one. But they, offensively are really going to test the Oilers and the Oilers defensemen. And Tampa's Tampa, and Florida's a solid team too. It's like you got some good teams coming down the pipe here. So now, what I would say about from a momentum standpoint is that if you can head into this little 5-day break with some momentum, and if you can carry that through, well, playing every second day is probably a good thing, because if you're feeling it and you're putting a streak together, well, you can carry that forward. And sometimes playing every second day is like, you just keep rolling. Like, you're just always in that game time mindset. And you're at home, so it's not like you're hopping on trains and planes and buses and traveling. Like, you can just stay in routine and roll with it. So I get where there could be some opportunity there, but it's not going to be an easy stretch by any sense of it. You're going to be tested by some of these teams, and maybe that's a good thing, because you got to start to beat some of these top tier teams as you go. And for as good as Washington was playing, it's not like Washington's a top tier team. Anaheim's not a top tier team. So you have to test yourself. And that starts with the game against Vegas, because they are one of the better teams in the league.
First in the West.
And you're going to have to perform here. So to me, it's I guess a pretty good testing ground here for this new momentum you started to build the last 2 games. I mean, you got to find a way to carry it forward. So it's not an easy stretch. I think it will be a very telling stretch to where this team is at.
Here's where these teams sit right now. Vegas is 14-5-2 on the season. They are currently first in the Pacific. So that's coming up on Tuesday. Then they go on the road to Winnipeg, take on the Jets, who are one of the better positive surprises in the league. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They're 12-6-2 on the season, 26 points, 2 points back at Colorado for first in the Central. So those are 2 very tough games heading into this mini 5-day break. They come out of it. They get the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina right now, 24 points. They are second in the Metro. They get Minnesota. Minnesota is actually behind the Oilers in the standings after this win tonight. So Chicago coming up too. Chicago is 3 points back of the Oilers. So you mentioned Minnesota and Chicago. New Jersey should be better than they are. They are a 500 hockey team so far. They're 9-9-1 on the year. They are third from the bottom in the East and are 3-7 in their last 10. but there's some talent on that team. And then you've got Tampa at the top of their division, and Tampa top wild card spot right now, but 10-6-5, and then Florida 25 points, 12-7-1. So Cass, 16 points up for grabs here in these next 8 games. What do they have to have from that 16 points available?
I mean, I'd like to see at least 11 points. 12 points would be ideal.
12 out of 18.
12, 12
I mean,
12
I
out
think
of
with
18,
with the spot you're in right now, you kind of got to have 12. You know,
you kind of got to have 12. I think, like, again, 11 would be
16 possible points. I think I said 18. Sorry, so 12 of 16 would mean you win 6 of these, which
you win 6 of these, which
is not easy.
Good. Yeah,
but
that's why I think to me the number is 11. Like, if you hit 11, you've done a good job, because there are some good teams.
Yeah,
in this, if you get 11 points in the next 8 games, I think you're happy with it. Like, that moves you 5 points. I mean, that pulls you. Yeah, you're going to make up some ground if you do that. So, yeah, I mean, 12 would be ideal. 11 would be a positive. 10, I guess maybe you're okay with. But anything less than that, I think.
I mean, if you come through at 500, you're not really gaining any ground on anybody,
not gaining any ground. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
To me, you got to be three or 4 points in that stretch, at least above 500, at least.
Well, stiff tests, but we'll see if they can take this momentum the rest of the way here. Cass, appreciate you, buddy. You can slide away. We're going to have some clips here. I know YouTube Trev's going to work on grabbing some of those, so we'll get to some post game, and I'll get to some more questions here from everybody. I don't know why I'm coughing all of a sudden. I didn't cough all day. I don't know why all of a sudden I started coughing here tonight, but thanks for sticking around, buddy.
You're welcome. Happy to be here. So we'll talk soon.
Okay, yeah, sounds good, man. There you go. Cass will be back. Pre-game Tuesday. 2 guys and a goalie Tuesday afternoon at noon as well. Apologize, everybody. I don't know why I all of a sudden started coughing. I had a cough a couple days ago, but it's been pretty good so far today. James in the nasty chat says, best way to look at the standings is week to week, and if they leapfrogged any of the teams ahead of them. Yeah, it's not a crazy group ahead of them. That's one thing that they have going for them, right? Like, who scares you from the teams that they have to track down? I guess this is why, as much as we ripped, and this is something I think we're happy to do at Edmonton Sports Talk. I mean, when they're not going well, we're not afraid or unable to call a spade a spade. And when they play like garbage, we'll say they play like garbage. But the one thing I've kind of said over the last couple of weeks, like, I know like the odds of them making the postseason aren't favorable, but there's no way you can count this team out when you see what McDavid's done the last couple of games. I mean, he's capable of going off for 9 points in 2 nights.
Yep, I couldn't agree more, Dusty. And the fact that I think I was just reading 14 games played, he had 13 points, and then in the last 2 games played, he has 9 points. And so it's just McDavid's buzzing out there. He's looking way, way better. I don't know if, and like just goes from the beginning of the season. I really don't know if some of the teams just were really checking him, if that's what it was. And I said this earlier on the pregame, but it just seemed like he had no time and on the ice. Like there was like 2 guys on him, like as soon as it happened, as soon as he got the puck. So he was getting very well defended, but right now, like, you're not seeing that. Is that because he's feeling better? I don't know, but I mean, all signs point to that. He was just buzzing again in the last 2 games. He's just skating like McDavid of old, and he's looked just lights out. It's night and day difference. So it's super encouraging.
Well, it's like, and Trev, I'm good now. Hey, Mike's working.
Oh yeah, you're golden.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay. So, like, he couldn't have just all of a sudden got healthy. Like, that's what, I mean, maybe. I just don't know. If you had a lingering injury throughout the season, and then, like, all of a sudden, it'll be easy for us. Like, we'll look at it and go, wow, that game against Washington, he was really back, so he got healthy all of a sudden. You don't have a lingering injury and all of a sudden just get better overnight. So, I don't know if maybe there's been some miracle treatment on whatever he was dealing with, but to me, I mean, there's that like he always looks dangerous because of his hands, and he was even still doing that when he wasn't producing at the crazy rate that he has the last couple of games. But tonight, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, if you're watching right now on YouTube or you're listening on TuneIn or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, I mean, Connor McDavid looks like he's looks like he's at 110% again right now, which is something that I think I don't know how it just all of a sudden happened against Washington. Like, so I guess what I'm saying is, was he not as banged up as we kind of thought over the last couple of weeks, and maybe he just wasn't going. He just all of a sudden he's now realized the sense of urgency that this team is facing and had to crank it up a notch, or that doesn't have something to do with the fact that they put him with Nuge and Hyman, and Nuge and Hyman are the right two types of players to play with him. I mean, maybe that could be it as well. I feel like there has to be another reason here outside of just miraculously getting healthy on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little strange where all of this is coming from all of a sudden, unless you just sit there and go, they were snake bitten for 6 weeks, which would be the longest being stuck on the schneid of all time. But they've got 13 goals in their last 2 games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of it could just be the power play too, man. Like the power play all of a sudden is looking extremely dangerous, but all of that revolves around Connor McDavid making good decisions with the puck, and maybe he just wasn't making good decisions with the puck on the power play for the last 3 or 4 weeks, right?
Yeah,
so,
no, for sure, and
that
like
could be something you look at.
maybe like as well, was his confidence was hurting the most? Like that very well could be the case because it is hard to just turn it all around in one game, one afternoon. So maybe it's just the confidence. Maybe it's he's going now though. So here's hoping it stays that way. And I can't imagine it's gonna, he never seems to dial it back once he gets going, right? So it's super encouraging for Oilers fans, and it's just nice to see. It's refreshing because the offense, obviously, Leon, he's amazing in his own right, but it really does drive from Connor McDavid.
Buys a mask guy says, Dustin, remember when David Staples tweeted about the third period against the Canes was good? Could it be true that period helped him? What are your thoughts on that front? I still disagree. I don't think the third period against the Carolina Hurricanes, when Carolina was sitting back and protecting a lead, changed things for the Edmonton Oilers. I won't believe that. I don't think that was the case. I think what was the case is they got a couple of goals against a Washington team that has zero firepower, and they were able to lock it down. And then they used that momentum going into tonight. I don't think a team, and I know Knobloch did say he liked that third period, but even he had to realize the position that the Carolina Hurricanes were in that third period. So no, I still stand by my comments about that tweet. And no, I don't think the third period in a loss in which they were absolutely getting pumped by the Carolina Hurricanes has led to what we're seeing now. I think them finally playing 60 full minutes against the Washington Capitals is what's led to the way that they're playing now. We also have to remember that it is just 2 games. It's 2 really awesome games. This is why I'm so excited for the game against Vegas. This game against Vegas is huge. Like Vegas right now, let's take a look at what Vegas has been doing lately. I know Jack on the broadcast mentioned that they have struggled a bit offensively as of late. Let me just bring up, by the way, Norman at Combine who texted and said, Dusty, any luck on Cool Bet tonight? Well, I did have luck on Cool Bet tonight because of the Edmonton Oilers. I tweeted it earlier today. The Oilers -1.5 is a play tonight. It was plus money at the time, and it cashed no sweater. So that was pretty nice. And I had that actually parlayed with Carolina, who made an insane comeback. So that worked out. And a football game. I can't remember which one, but it hit as well. So all in all, Sunday was good to Dusty over at CoolBet. Here is Vegas in their last, let's go back their last 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So their last 10, they pumped Colorado 7-0. Then they lost 3 of 4. They lost to the Ducks 4-2. They lost to the Kings 4-1. They beat the Sharks, who sucked the big one. They beat the Sharks 5-0, and then they lost to the Capitals 3-0. Since then, they have, in the last 5, beaten the Habs 6-5, lost to the Flyers in overtime 4-3, shut out by the Penguins 3-0, beat the Stars 2-1 in overtime, low-scoring tight affair against Dallas. Probably was a good game. And then they lost to the Coyotes 2-0. So in their last 3 games, The Golden Knights only have one regulation goal and then have the overtime winner in that game against Dallas. And then they will play Calgary tomorrow night. So you're getting a Vegas team that is not playing great as of late and having played last night, and a team that you think you should have something significant to prove against, plus the fact that you desperately need the 2 points. So this shapes up to be, I would think, a rather motivated Oilers team in a relatively decent spot against the Golden Knights on Tuesday. And it's really fascinating to see here because we'll have Darren Dreger on the Nielson show tomorrow morning at 7:05. And we'll ask him about, how much were they actually hearing the Oilers even considering pulling the trigger on a deal. I know everybody wants to say, they're working the phones heavy and this and that. And then leading into the weekend, it was like they're looking for internal help, and maybe that'll come in the form of Jack Campbell or something along those lines being called back up. After these games against Vegas and Winnipeg, they have 5 days off, or 5 days between games. It won't be 5 days off, but 5 days between games. With the way this season is gone, if they can beat Vegas and Winnipeg, then you're on a 4-game heater going into the break. As Cass said, you don't love it because you'd like to keep that momentum going, but whatever. You'll take the 8 points of a possible 8 points leading into that little 5-day no-game break. I'll be very interested to see if what happens if they, this is great. 13 goals in their last 2 games. Maybe the tide is just turning and they were getting PDO'd to death, and it's going to start going in for them now continuously. Now, I'm not going to say they're going to score 13 goals back-to-back games the rest of the way this season. Well, they will. They'll probably score 13 in 2 games at some point again. But they're not going to, are they score 13 goals in the next 2 games too? Probably not. Are they going to allow less than 3 goals in the next 2 games? Maybe, but probably not. But what if they lose to Vegas and Winnipeg, and then there's that 5-day window? That's what this city is made for, is they dropped 2 pretty good teams. 5-day window. You know what you can do in a 5-day window? You can pull the trigger on a deal. So if they win the 2 games, even though they won't be back in a playoff spot or even probably close, it might be within 5-6 points, 5 points, but maybe 4 points because they're 6 points out right now of a wild card spot. Maybe people are going to sit there and go, they're fixed, they're back, don't worry about it. Or the next 2 games could be got to blow it up and get a goalie. So these next 2 games basically determine what they do the rest of the way this season. Honestly, I mean, am I putting too much stock into that? The weird thing will be, what if they go 1-1? Because then you've got 3 of 4 that you've won heading in to the 5 days without a game. So that's a tough one. I don't know where I'd come out on them if they split the next. I think if you split the next 2, either a win over Vegas or Winnipeg would be great. They're both really good hockey teams. They're both deeper hockey teams than what the Oilers have been up to this point. Saw a lot of love for Hamblin in the nasty chat as well, and rightfully so. I mean, kind of a little ball of energy guy in the bottom 6, which I think could certainly go a long way. Alex says I'm putting too much stock into the next 2 games. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like with that window coming up with 5 days off, if things don't go well the next 2 games, it could lead to some sort of deal. But if things go well, I mean, they will be more than happy to sit back because that's probably what they want to do anyway. And then you would have been on this little 4-game heater coming in. So I think these 2 games are huge. 2 huge games to dictate which way management decides to go with this team. Chris says, is there a right-handed Broberg out there? Because I could see a swap. I don't know who the right-handed Broberg would be. I do like the fact that they're no longer dressing 2 liabilities on defense. Now, shout out to Desharnais. A couple assists tonight. That was nice. Take maybe a quick run through this. Trev's trying to track down some post-game clips. We want to give you that before we wrap up here, obviously, tonight. But there's no reason to dress 2 defensemen that you're uncomfortable with when you can only just dress one that you're uncomfortable with, and then get an extra body in up front.
I do have Connor and Nugent Hopkins ready for you whenever you'd like. Dusty?
All right, let's get to Connor McDavid. Let's hear what the captain Connor McDavid had to say after a 5-point night. Man, he looked good tonight. Here's what he had to say.
The best start, but you guys didn't seem to get rattled by it. You just kept going and then kind of took the game over.
Yeah, it was a good response. Goal by Leo's line. Big goal by Kaner. They go up 2-1 again, and we find a way to get back in the game, and something that we've been missing kind of throughout the year. So good to see a little bit of resilience there.
Obviously, points to you come a little bit easier, it seems, than other people, but early on they weren't going in as much for you. The last week you got 12 points in 4 games. Is confidence remotely a thing that even you at times would struggle with, or just things going in now that maybe weren't going in earlier?
Confidence is obviously a big part of it. I think our whole team is playing better, and I think that's why you're seeing guys start to have success. It's not just a light switch that one guy or 2 guys can just turn on. It takes a whole group, and I thought our group's been playing better of late, and you're starting to see guys have a little bit of success, and a little bit too is it just going in. Guys are making plays, and it's just going in.
Just to build off Jason's question, I mean, what have the last 2 games meant to you guys as a group as you're trying to get it going here?
Yeah, obviously it's big, but all it is 2 wins, and need another one on Tuesday. We just got to keep rolling our game over, and that's all there is to it.
You seem to be playing a bit cleaner game, I guess, just maybe simplifying things a little bit. How would you kind of see that your game the last week or so?
Personally, or the team?
The team.
The team game, I think, has definitely just been simpler. Something that we talked about, and I thought guys have done a great job of kind of buying into that, and we're a good forechecking team. We really are. And when we use that to our strength, we can make it a half ice game pretty quick, and that's something that we need to keep doing.
Talk about James Hamlin and just what he's brought to the team since coming out.
Yeah, he's great. He's just steady Eddie back there. On that line, and brings a lot of reliability, and chipping in with a little bit of offense is always great. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Just looking forward to Vegas here on Tuesday. Now, you guys are playing your best hockey of the year right now. It's a good time to kind of get them in here.
Well, it's a big game. It's a measuring game for us to see where we're at against one of the league's best, if not the league's best. So. Good measuring stick game for us, and something that we should be looking forward to.
Ooh, that's exciting, isn't it? Measuring stick game against the Vegas Golden Knights, who he said might be the best team in the National Hockey League, which he might not be wrong on that. I still don't know who I declare the best team in the National Hockey League so far this season would be. I think some people might say the Boston Bruins, New York Rangers. They had a big tilt here over the weekend. That was a big one. They're probably the cream of the crop right there, but Vegas is just a point behind them despite going 4-5-1 in their last 10. Vegas is also 6-3-1 on the year. The Oilers and the Anaheim Ducks, 1 of 5 games on the NHL sked. Tonight, final game of the night. The other games tonight, Nashville 3-2 over the Winnipeg Jets. The Columbus Blue Jackets had a 2-0 lead late against the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina actually wins that game 3-2. The Blues doubled up the Blackhawks 4-2. Bedard was held pointless in that one. And the Detroit Red Wings getting by the Minnesota Wild 4-1. Dean Evanson was not happy post-game there in Minnesota. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins playing on that line with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. The Nuge just put together a couple of pretty nice games himself. Tonight he had the goal. It was actually on his only shot, but he did finish a team best +4 tonight in 18 minutes and 27 seconds of action. Here's what Ryan Nugent-Hopkins had to say after the game.
Maybe a slow start, but after that, nothing slow about the way your team played.
Yeah, I thought we stuck with it well early and just kept rolling. I mean, we just they scored, we scored, they scored, we scored, and I mean that's what you got to do. Sometimes you're not going to start the way that you want to, but you have to be able to stay in it, and we just kind of got rolling from that.
Just give us a thought on Connor. He looks like he's kind of back to the Connor that we've seen here for so long.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's we know what he can do, what he's capable. I've thought most of the year he's been playing well. Sometimes the pucks just don't go in, and the points don't show up quite the same. But definitely it's great to see him drive it.
When this team's offense is going, I mean, that's kind of your backbone. I mean, the other stuff will fall into place, but once that's going, that's a good starting point for what you guys want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, important to put the puck in the net, but I think it starts in our own zone too. I mean, it's and through the neutral zone, we've talked a lot lately about just putting pucks behind them and creating offense out of that. And I thought tonight we did a good job of that.
Right, since being put together, you, Connor, and Zach have had a lot of success. What is it about playing with those two? Why you guys have clicked so quickly?
Well, I mean, I think our games kind of complement each other. We all bring something a little different to the table, and we just know each other so well. We can read off each other well. So definitely it has been going well for the past couple of games. But obviously can't stop. Just got to keep going.
Now, was that a set play off of your breakaway? Like Nurse came right around the net, you were already there. Was that something you guys had seen in film work at all, or just anticipate the play?
That was all Nursey. He called it right before the face-off, and I just went to the spot, and he made a great pass. And that definitely was all him.
Ryan, what have these last two games meant for you guys as a group as you're trying to kind of find it here?
I mean, it's obviously nice to be able to break through and get our offense going a little bit. I think early in the season, obviously, puck's not going in. We're trying hard and trying to get around it, but I think it does help the confidence when they start going in a little bit.
Looking ahead to Tuesday now, you got Golden Knights coming in here. You guys are playing obviously the best hockey here of the season. Good time for them to come back.
Yeah, I mean, it's we know it's going to be a hard-fought game. It's going to be tight checking, and there's not going to be anything easy out there. So, got to prepare for that, and I mean, take some positives out of these last two games, and keep going.
There you go. That is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and this is going to sound weird coming from a guy wearing an Edmonton Sports Talk hat, but where do we come out on those Edmonton hockey hats? Just Edmonton hockey. I kind of like it. I like the look. Had that little gradient on there too, so that was pretty nice. Let me know what you think about the Nuges hat. I'm just watching again on the YouTube playback here. Actually, looks not bad. Looks not bad. Dusty, do you think the boys forget about what happened in the playoffs last year? Can't imagine they let Alex Pietrangelo skate freely. We'll have to see how that gets sorted out, won't we? Just another reason to be fired up for the Oilers and the Golden Knights on Tuesday night. Should be a good one at Rogers Place. You heard Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in that availability after the game. He was asked about that stretch pass, if it was a designed play from Darnell Nurse, and he said, it was all Nurse right before they decided to get going. And let's hear from Darnell Nurse and what he had to say. I'm sure they asked him about that pass.
His breakaway goal, he kind of called it right from before that you wanted to try it, and obviously he was there.
Yeah, just you just got great speed, and thought David does a great job of snapping it back there, and just had some time, so may as well try it.
Just a thought on Connor. He looks like he's back to the Connor that everyone kind of knew. I know he's in a bit of a, not a slump, but he was having trouble finding the points that he is now. How are you seeing him right now? The way he's playing?
He's been playing his butt off and doing everything he can since the start of the season, and then obviously, it's the points have started to come the last few years, last few games. But with that said, he's been working at that same clip since we got in here before camp, so he's just being rewarded for it now.
I guess it's pretty obvious when the guy has 9 points in 2 games, but is his turnaround kind of intertwined with the way the Oilers have kind of turned things around the last little bit?
Yeah, obviously he's the leader on this team. I think our team has played some really good hockey over the last 2 games, and I think over stretches even before that, we've been playing a little more simple and finding ways to get leads, and then obviously in the last 2 games being able to get the lead and hold on. So some good signs, a couple good wins in a row, but we got to keep it going here.
You guys have talked a lot about wanting to lower the goals against. You've won 5 of your last 8, and you've only allowed 7 goals in those 5 games. So kind of Captain Obvious thing here, that what have you liked about in those games about your defensive play that maybe wasn't there earlier in the season?
I mean, you said Captain Obvious, so we led in 7 goals. That's a good sign. I think it comes down to everything in those games. Whether it's forwards tracking back, D having good gaps in the neutral zone, Skinny making some huge saves for us in big moments, and then the confidence in the D zone comes to go and close plays and whatnot. So I think it's been a combination of all those aspects of our game, and that's got to continue.
Darnell, the best part of the win tonight, maybe the way you guys were able to weather kind of a rocky start and kind of carry it from there?
Yeah, I mean, they came out and had a really good push. We were down 2-1. We weren't deterred by it, though, and just stuck to our game. And we're able to capitalize on the chances that we got. And I think that's what's special about this group is that we're a resilient group, but we got to continue to play the way that I think the standard that we know we can play at, and it's got to be every night.
Playing this way with Vegas coming in Tuesday, just maybe a thought on getting them again.
Yeah, I mean, the point we're at right now, we're just playing hockey, and I think we move on to the next game, and it doesn't matter who comes in here. We want to take care of our own game and see where that gets us at the end of the night. So it's obviously there's going to be a lot made of it because we played them in the playoffs last year, but the same token for us as a team, we're kind of at the point here we just got to worry about ourselves.
There you go. Classic worry about yourselves line. Darnell Nurse looks like a guy who took a puck to the face recently, doesn't he? I see people in the nasty chat saying he looks tough right now. Keep that look for the rest of the season. Look, if you need to have 6 stitches in the middle of your forehead and a couple of black eyes to make stretch passes on a rope to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, launching him in on a breakaway, you keep doing that the rest of the season. Darnell Nurse tonight, 3 assists. Couple of PIMs, 3 shots on goal, played 25-10 tonight. More on him tomorrow morning, obviously, on the morning after show on the Nielson show. I might even see, I think Connor McDavid referred to James Hamlin, said he's steady Eddie, didn't he? I think he mentioned he's been pretty steady. And we have the EM Utility locating Steady Eddie of the evening. So we'll probably get into that tomorrow morning. Darren Dreger, Reimer Shaw will be by as well. Mike Tenier to talk some NFL. Nielsen show will get rolling in about 7 hours and 18 minutes. We're going to wrap up the post-game show here, but we got to get to our player of the game for Damon Bunting Realty. If you're buying or selling, he's the slumlord that'll handle it for you. Maybe you want to get into the renting business. He can help you out. You find him at www.damonbunting.com or on Instagram at Damon Bunting Realty. Let's bring in YouTube Trev. Trev's got your player of the game, Trev.
Yep.
I think I probably know where you're going tonight, but maybe you mix it up. Who are you going with?
Yeah, so, oh, man, I'm fired up, Dusty. It's just so nice to talk about the Oilers' wins and just in dominating.
Do you think they're back, Trev? Let me ask you this. Do you think they're back?
Oh, man, it's going to be.
If they beat Vegas on Tuesday, you'll say they're back.
It's such a good litmus test for them, that game against Vegas. They're both going to want that one for sure. So I'm expecting a really, really good game. Like both teams, I can imagine like the pep talks the coaches are going to give the teams before. I'd love to be a fly on the wall just to hear what they have to say because it's going to be, it should be a really, really good game, and I'm looking forward to it. If they win, I can't imagine it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think it's going to be pretty tight checking throughout the whole 60, and it's going to be a good game. So that's what I'm praying. Like just bring the effort, and you should be good. And if it's a close game and they lose, maybe in overtime, okay, well, that's a good litmus test, and at least you can see, okay, that's where they are compared to one of the best teams in the league. As for the last 2 games, yeah, they looked great, but those teams were kind of lesser. So, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a good game. But as for this game, the Damon Bunting player of the game, a lot of honorable mentions throughout the whole lineup, Dusty. And this is something that's just so huge when they come out strong and they're looking okay. They're able to roll all lines, and that's something they haven't really been able to do as of late. But the last 2 games they have been able to do that, so it's been nice. You've been able to see the James Hamlins of the world, the Adam Ernie's. I think that was Ernie's best game. He was actually skating. His legs were really going out there, so he was pretty noticeable. Matthias Janmark as well. Fogel, like just looking at all the guys, like it was nice. Connor Brown got off the schneid with his first point as an Oiler, first point and almost 600 days, which is kind of cool. So it was nice to see him get maybe that boosts his confidence as well. But as for, and then Darnell Nurse, just one of his best games I've seen in recent memory. Just so many honorable mentions. But Connor McDavid, I don't usually do this, and I kind of hate doing this, but when you put up 9 points in 2 games, it's hard to not pick Connor McDavid. He was lights out. This is the Connor McDavid of old. Just from everything, his hands, his quickness, his speed, he was flying out there. He was making the passes, and those passes weren't really going through earlier in the year. So Connor McDavid, 100%. Oh, yeah, 1 goal. And I forgot to mention this. 19 minutes of time on ice. Like, that's huge.
Yeah,
if you're rolling that out, like, throughout the whole season, that's going to pay dividend, come March, April, when they're really gunning for the playoffs, right? So that's in and of itself is huge. +3, 1 power play point, 4 shots on net. Connor McDavid is absolutely your Damon Bunting player of the game. Atta be Connor.
It's going to be an award named after him instead of Damon Bunting, who's one of the best in the city with Remax Elite. And if you're buying or selling, Damon Bunting is your guy. Visit his website at damonbunting.com to see all his listings. And hey, maybe your listing could be up there as well. Trevor, are you in with us tomorrow morning?
Nope, Maddie gave me the day off, so Maddie will be in the AM.
Really?
Yeah, not bad.
So you're off tomorrow.
Yeah,
Very nice.
got the day off. I can't wait. It's going to be nice. Get a chill. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
But
are you going out tonight then?
No, I'm going back home and we're chilling tonight.
Well, you never go on Sunday night, right?
Yeah.
Find a place to have a pretty good time tonight.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to bed. So yeah, Edmonton Oilers get the job done. A convincing fashion tonight, 8-2. The Anaheim Ducks have now lost 6 in a row and are probably going to be plummeting down to at or near the bottom of the West. I would think Edmonton Oilers trying to go the other way with just a huge test coming up on Tuesday against Vegas. Maddie will have your pregame show on Tuesday for that game against Vegas. I will once again have your postgame show as Tommy Gazzola will be in a deer blind somewhere, hoping to kill a big one. And he's got Bozone Live 2 more times this week. So Maddie and I look after pre and post for the next couple Oilers games, 2 huge games before they head into that little mini break as we discussed tomorrow morning and all day at Edmonton Sports Talk. Tomorrow we'll have the Nielson show from 6 to 9, followed by the Hangout from 9 to 11. I will have the Log Shop at 11 with Huss. We set you up for the Monday Nighter and take a look at, I think, was a pretty good weekend. We hit our Lock Shop NFL partner parlay, which was paying almost 6 to 1. So that usually leads to a pretty nice weekend for the Lock Shop on the gridiron south of the border. And then it'll be the Oil Stream with myself and Tommy tomorrow at noon as we continue to take a look at the Edmonton Oilers and see if they have absolutely turned this thing around, or does a loss to Vegas, if it happens, kind of put a downer on everything that they've accomplished over the last 2 games. For YouTube Trev, back in the studio, Matt Cassian, I'm Dustin Nielson. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the post-game. Tell your friends about Edmonton Sports Talk. Tell them to get over and sub to our YouTube channel. We are 50 people away from hitting 6,000 in essentially our first 3 months. So we'd like to fire that up here before the end of November. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.